This is called Moving Onto the Isle. To write anything concerning our family's time spent in Washington Harbor, Isle Royale, from November 1890 to November 1892, I must begin before we ever got there. Now, this was written by my grandmother's mother. As soon as it was decided that the family would spend the winter on Isle Royale, isolated from everybody but those who were to be with us, the happiness of us children knew no bounds. No school, except as Father would teach us in the evenings. We were to go over on the A.B. Taylor, which is the name of the boat, which we thought almost belonged to us. I didn't even mind when the boys in school told me that my red hair would supply all the light the tailor would need. She evidently had bright red hair. My grandmother did too. Mother had a reason. Oh, see, this was being written by my grandmother then. Mother had a reason for not being so happy, but we did not understand what it could be. We did not know that in January a new baby was to come to us. There was to be another family with us, a family of 7 children, ages 15 to 3. This family was called Kreit, a German family. Mr. Kreit was the head carpenter and had been at Washington Harbor for some time while the log buildings in the camp were being built, also the frame houses. Spending the winter at Washington Harbor did not hold any terrors for this hardy family. The boys, John, 13, John and Henry Kreit, 14, and 12, went on shore with the first load that was taken off the boat. The women and children waited on the boat for the fire to be lit and everything made as homelike and comfortable as possible. The little camp of log houses was something very new to us. My grandma on my mother's side was on the isle for 2 years. That says 1890?
Yes.
Okay, to 1892. Her mother started a diary when they went over the water to Isle Royale, and she wrote something just about every day. And when they went off the island, then I think it was my grandma took over. Her writings are very interesting about her telling nearly every day something of what, and they had a school there, and we have a paper that tells the names of the students. My great-grandmother didn't tell anybody she was expecting a baby while they were there, and so she insisted that they bring a doctor along. Well, then after the baby was born, the doctor became the teacher. In those days, you don't tell anybody when you're expecting a baby, but one day they were at school, and of course the teacher was a doctor, and so they all got sent home. And of course, why would this happen? But they all had to disappear. and when the baby was born, then they could come out of hiding again, and they were hiding kind of, and there was a crack in one of their logs, yes. And they heard what they thought was a kitten mewing, and they said, "Oh, Dad brought us a kitten." Well, it kept on, and so finally they said, then their dad said, "You can come in and see your baby sister." The reason they went to Isle Royale was digging for ore, was it? And so that's mainly what the men did, although my grandma's dad was the man that ran the store.
Okay.
For things that the workers needed, boots and warm clothing and things like that, and some groceries. And they provided homes, log homes. They built the furniture, and nothing insulated, like we're used to. The mail came from Canada.
Okay.
Well, some came from the mainland, upper Michigan, but most of it came by boat. That was farther away, and then the dog sled, I think it was, brought it locally. And this was all at the lower end of the southern part of the island. I know there's a story in there about their own dog. Well, the men were going, I don't know if they were going fishing, but this dog came along with them because there was two men, and of course they couldn't take the dog, so the dog was supposed to go back to where the house was, and he didn't. Eventually, they found the dog. It was just about dead, but the father picked it up and they brought it home. And
in March, two of the men who boarded at the Wendigo with the Bowdery's daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John decided to leave the island and walk to Canada over the trail the mail carriers used. The three men in camp tried to dissuade them, as Mr. Britz was a short, stout man and walking would be hazardous. He persisted, however. The men in the camp urged him to dress his feet much more warmly. He would not take their advice and left the Wendigo in the morning with Mr. Salmon, who was also going. The men in camp were very sorry to see them start on their journey, but decided to have a little fun. And as soon as they left, took one of his trousers and hung it at half-mast in the trees in the woods nearby. Mrs. Bowdery told Mother the trousers were in the tree, but a short time later, when three black crows came and pecked at them, a sure omen of bad luck or death. This was verified in their words when Mr. Britz was frozen. He was not able to walk and sent Mr. Sullivan on to bring help from the menagerie light. Farther out, he was dead when help came.
yeah, it was a very lonely life.